When you think about the language of ceasefire and the way that it's applied in terms of Palestinian life and Israeli life, what we think of as a ceasefire is people stop dying and both sides stop firing. The first problem is the sort of asymmetry between the Palestinian side and the Israeli side in this situation to begin with. This is not a war, this is a genocide. So the idea that there is a ceasefire means that essentially Israel stops firing, Israel stops killing Palestinians. And that's not what we have seen. And if you think back to the first ceasefire that took effect in January of this year, there was a similar situation on the ground where Palestinians were being killed much less, not the daily massacres, not the 100 per day that we had seen, but they were still being killed on an almost daily basis. And there's a problem in the Western media's take on what this language of ceasefire is, because if one Israeli is killed, that would be called a broken ceasefire. But when Palestinians are still being killed on a daily basis, they're so dehumanized that that is not considered a ceasefire violation. You never hear Israel has violated a ceasefire, despite the fact that they keep firing and killing Palestinians. Of course, it's hard to tell where things are going to go given the historical context of Palestinian liberation at large. This is not just about Gaza. There's also the West Bank and East Jerusalem. There's the fact that Palestinian territories have been occupied by Israel for decades. And one of the problems in the way that the Gaza genocide has been contextualized in the Western world is to ignore all of that and overlook all of that. It cannot be a ceasefire for Palestinians, even if there's no one dying in Gaza, which is not the case, but even if that was the case, when you have kids being killed in the West Bank. That happened this week. You had Israeli forces killing an 11-year-old in the West Bank just this week. This is something that happens repeatedly. When you have families being evicted from their homes and forcibly displaced in East Jerusalem, there is no ceasefire for Palestinians. When they live under apartheid and occupation, there is no ceasefire for Palestinians. And I think that's the larger and broader contextualization that's often missing in the Western narrative.